Hey everyone, time to talk about Star Trek the original series. As you've seen from my last two DVD updates, you've noticed that I've been collecting pretty much the entire franchise, and if you're gonna do a marathon, that's where you start, obviously. So I've been watching that show in production order, and I'm really glad that I watched it because it was a real pleasant treat. I was really amazed at how the only real low budget thing that really stood out to me was, the backgrounds when they're on alien planets, just how they put up those rocks and then a couple of very cheap looking backgrounds, even though they do use some natural settings like this side of paradise and then the Alice in Wonderland episode. But everything else, especially since I watched the show with the remastered effects, didn't really bother me at all. The effects look good because they were remastered. The acting and all the one-liners and then gelling with each other, that was pretty good. I do like how they managed to get some humor in there, but also some serious stuff, although there wasn't really too many depressing episodes, which I thought was kind of odd, even though there are depressing moments of the show. The bringing in various types of aliens and types of situations that the crew encountered and the themes of a lot of these episodes, that was all really good. So the only thing that honestly looked low budget was just those backgrounds that I mentioned. It was a real good ride for me, although having to constantly switch discs for production order really kind of annoyed me, and other than the Loman character being around in the first season and then disappearing halfway through that season, I really couldn't detect too much continuity errors. Oh yeah, there's a couple of other things. Characters not being in the right shirt when we first see them, and then Sulu being gone for a decent amount of Season 2, but really that's it. Like, Season 3, I couldn't find any kind of continuity whatsoever, albeit I wasn't paying as close attention while I was watching that season because, to be honest, I think I was getting a teeny bit tired of it, because I really marathoned these 80 episodes. But, yeah. So, other things to talk about? Well, I've kind of already said a decent amount with the characters, but I'll try to talk about them a little bit individually. So, William Shatner as Kirk, on the surface, it didn't appear that there was too much for him, but as I see his abilities and how he reacted over the course of the series, I've got faith in this guy, and I do see a little bit of the hotshot approach that Chris Pine really brought out in his Kirk from the new movie, because especially during Season 2, Shatner really seemed to be getting into stuff with the main women that appear in those episodes. Although the Uhura kiss doesn't appear until the third season, and because obviously I wasn't born, not born, grew up around the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I honestly don't really think there's that much to see there, although I did a little bit of research on it, and I was actually quite impressed that there really didn't seem to be any backlash, because a lot of these historical racially important stuff, it seems like a lot of them produced no backlash. I'm really shocked to have learned that kind of stuff, but anyway, yeah. Shadow did pretty good here, and I'm hoping that he can keep this up once I start watching the movies, because, like, outside of Star Trek, pretty much everything that I've seen him in, he keeps making a fool of himself, albeit that's mainly the game shows that he appeals in. Pyramid, $1 Million Password, Weakest Link, so maybe it's a little unfair to view him that way. I don't know. So then, Namoya as Spock, yeah, he did pretty good in the role, giving pretty good insight, not necessarily afraid to take action, playing by the rules a bit more, but also managing to create caveats to where he can help people out. That was just a real interesting. And I just love that bit where Kirk was trying to get him rid of those spores' influence in this side of paradise, and he just takes all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that was awesome. And then his feud with McCoy. Pretty interesting, even though, let's face it, it's a one-sided feud where McCoy keeps getting annoyed with Spock, yeah. And that trio of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, I definitely got that feel, although I was kind of surprised with just how often all three of those people, kept going down to the planet, because, well, I mean, this is true of pretty much every Star Trek show. They sure seem to be sending the most important people down to these planets quite a lot, but you kind of have to put that aside, because I think the only Star Trek series that doesn't have the captain be the top billed person is Discovery, where Jason Isaacs is actually the lowest. So there's that. Then the other main important characters that onto the trio, Sulu and then her, well, they did nice additions, and I was actually kind of surprised at how, while her never really got that much depth to her character, she wasn't afraid to, take action or show distress in a few situations, albeit I know at least one of those times that she was under distress, she was under control by an alien being, well, she was seeing a vision of herself age 70, but yeah, I don't really think that she was shafted too much. There just wasn't too much depth to her character, but you can argue the same for Sulu, to be honest, because, he just sits there, takes orders from Kirk, although he did have that sparring bit early on in the first season. Pretty good of him. And then you've got Chekov, and, I forgot about Scotty, so let's talk about Scotty. He's, the comedic humorous bit here, and that does make sense why Simon Pegg does all of his jokes as Scotty in the new movie, so I do see that, although, there's a part of me that feels kind of odd about him being, the third in command. I just don't entirely see him as really having that much leadership qualities. Now, granted, okay, he is chief engineer, so he should have some qualities, leadership qualities, but it just doesn't feel the same, if you ask me. Just a tiny complaint there. And I can never really get over the fact that he's in a red shirt, but nothing happens to him, even though her wears a red shirt, yeah. And then finally talking about Chekov. Well, I can't help but feel like a good amount of the reason that he was here was because George Tahaki couldn't stay on set for all of season 2 because of some other commitment he had. I forget the exact reason why he left, but I was shocked when Chekov didn't appear in the first season, and when he appeared in the second season, I was like, ooh, man, and because I've also done a little bit of research into his character and learned in the animated series, they didn't bring him there, albeit that was because the production company couldn't afford the entire cast, but yeah, that's 3 times that character has been, I don't know about shafted, but received a bit of a slap in the face. Doesn't appear in the first season of Star Trek, doesn't appear to be in the animated series based on what I've read. I'm just starting to watch the animated series, and then the actor who plays him in the new movies dies in a single car accident, and they decide to discontinue his character. Just, oh man, that stinks. Yeah, man. So I felt like in many ways, he was pretty much like Sulu. Wasn't entirely a bad thing. Well, actually, he's not entirely like Sulu, because I got the idea he's a little more timid than Sulu, but unfortunately, my main reaction with him is that he's like Sulu, and then just feeling sorry for his character getting the moment a few times, yeah. So moving outside of the main group of people and talking about the other alien races that they showed on here, I was pretty impressed with the variety that they did, because the Klingons, I got menace from them, those 1 or 2 episodes where they mentioned the Romulans, yeah, those were interesting episodes, and then showing all these random one-off alien races that they find on various planets. I do like what they did, although it did seem to be that they used, I don't know, they have either force fields or telepathic abilities quite a bit much. That just kind of got to me, although not nearly as much as, the I Mud episode, and then when they find that a person who claims that he's the Greek god Apollo, except he actually could be the Greek god Apollo, just those episodes were sure to sit through, and then also the man trap. Like, that was the first episode of Star Trek that people ever saw. Like, why would you choose that episode to be the first one that you show us? I mean, granted, even where No Man Has Gone Before doesn't really have much of a beginning, to be honest, but just like that episode, that was not a good decision. Now, how they started off with like the Cobalt Knight maneuver, that would have been a nice one to show, because I happened to see that episode by chance years ago, and that was a good episode. Yeah. Now, a few people out there argue that the show, starts off good but then declines over time. To be honest, I didn't really see too much of a decline until I got really, really into it, because, like, the first season, I thought the majority of the episodes were winners. For, like, the first 2 episodes of Season 2, it felt like things were a tiny bit different, but that changed real fast, and then I felt they picked up right where they left off. And then the third season, I don't deny that it had a slightly different feel to it, but it wasn't that bad for a decent amount of it, because, like, that episode Spock's Brain, I wasn't as bothered with that episode as it seemed like a bunch of other people were. Oh, sure, I agree that the girl's going, "Brain? What is brain?" Okay, that's totally dumb, okay, but I was actually more bothered by Turnabout Intruder, to be honest. Yeah, like, that just seems stupid. I could not get that chick's motivation at all, and then just the idea that, oh yeah, you have to kill your previous body to prevent the transfusion. Oh, I can't kill my body. That was stupid, if you ask me, yeah. But Season 3 did have some nice episodes. Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, whenever they showed a group of Klingons, that was good. That episode where they brought in Abe Lincoln and they just happened to have a Klingon there, that seems stupid if you ask me. But yeah, I didn't notice too much of a decline, if you ask me. And one thing that really surprised me about this show was that a lot of, I'm trying to figure out the right words, where stuff that's talked about from the show a lot, like the Vulcan salute, and then the idea of red shirts getting killed off all the time, those didn't really occur that much. Like, I think there was only 4 episodes tops where Spock does the Vulcan salute, and then because I watched Season 1 in production order, I got through almost an entire season before Red Shirt died, and even then, I don't really think there was that much imbalance between Red Shirts dying and people not in Red Shirts dying for at least the first 2 seasons. I'd be willing to bet that there really wasn't anyone not wearing a red shirt that was also part of the Enterprise crew that died in Season 3, based on what I remember. So I was just kind of surprised that a few of those things, they get talked about a lot, weren't actually that big of a thing. Although I did know that the phrase "beam me up, Scotty" was never used in the show, although Kirk does go, "Beam me up, Mr. Spock." I burst out laughing when I heard that, because that, I think, is the closest they ever got to that, right? So, not the biggest breaking video, that kind of a thing, but this show's been talked about to death, and it's just a mostly newbie's perspective on it, and yeah, it was a fun ride. I don't think that once I'm done with the original crew, I'll go back to hurriedly watch it anytime soon, but am I glad that I saw this? Oh yeah, definitely. Really glad that I saw it. Let's hope the rest of the original crew's stuff keeps me entertained.